Okay, are we on? Sometimes I can't ever tell if we're on or not. So sorry. Anyway, welcome. Happy Thursday. Okay, so episode four, our fourth episode of Truthful Chats. It was called
That long ago, huh?
Humility and Faith Produces a New Perspective. We talked extensively, and I do mean extensively, about the great dress debate of 2015. If you were not alive, I don't know what that is, not alive in 2015, I'm sorry for you, or maybe you just don't remember this, but it was the whole debate about that woman that wore that dress. It was either England or Australia, I don't remember. She wore that dress to the wedding reception, and people couldn't
Yes.
figure out whether it was white or gold or blue or black. And that was all a matter of perspective, right? Perception. I am also a fan of those quizzes where you could see the images two different ways. Like it might be like
Ink blot.
a wolf and two people or whatever.
Mhm.
Like I like ink block quizzes. And what's fascinating to me about all that stuff is that it is all a matter of perspective. It's like the way your brain is wired to see things, right? Or what your truth or reality or perspective is. And that's cool because our perspective is the way that we see things, how we see and interpret things, is the is part of what shapes us. And the things that shape us are, as they used to say on the great show that is Westworld, create the nature of your reality. Okay. Um, and pretty much that's a long winded way of saying whatever feels real to you, you're going to continue to build your core identity, your core memories, your personhood. Everything is going to be built around what you consider to be real. However, we already said that's a matter of interpretation. Okay. So is it just an interpretation of how you're seeing things or is it fact? It's a whole lot of mind bending things. Okay. So whether you're a person who's been like, maybe thinking about these kind of things because you have time to ask yourself philosophical questions. Or maybe you're at a crossroads where you're like, man, there's some things that I feel like, um, you know, I'm at a crossroads with some things and there's things I'm trying to figure out. Plus, the nature of all of our reality is a little crazy at this particular point in time. Whether it is your individual life that you're trying to figure out, or the state of the world, said war, said climate control, said governments ain't acting right. People is crazy. People still shooting people down in the street. It's all craziness. Anyway, if you can relate to any of the things I've just verbal vomited out of my mouth, then this episode is for you. You should stick around.
Hi, I'm Pam Williams, a mother.
And I'm Jessica E. Williams, a daughter. And this is a mother and a daughter truthful chat, where we discuss our 35-year multi-layered relationship.
We've been through so many ups and downs. Not only are we family, but we're business partners in the high-stress world of event planning and production for short films.
We've also shared the same therapist for over 10 years. What some people call codependence, we call collaboration.
So join us as we share stories from our lives,
have candid conversations with other mother-daughter duos,
and shed light on the roller coaster ride of being a woman while raising a woman.
All right, cups up. You see
Oh,
it.
wait.
You see it.
You don't see my heart, though.
Every time we have this cup, shout out to Cassie.
With my missing girl.
I am truly a Gemini. Anyway, welcome to Truthful Chats. We always do that.
What are you drinking today?
Just pink lemonade.
I'm drinking Pepsi because I need a little. Boast.
You know when you just brush your teeth and then you drink something?
Oh, yeah.
First. Taste is nasty. Shout out to Simply Lemonade. We will gladly endorse your products. We enjoy them. That's not an indication. I just brushed my teeth. It's not a thing. Anyway, welcome to Truthful Chats. If you're new here, if you are a regular around here, welcome back. We appreciate you showing up every week as we endeavor to show up every week, which we've done. This is episode 41. Okay. By the end of this year, we will have 52 straight up episodes and counting. Perhaps we'll increase the frequency next year. I really don't know. I don't know. Okay. Our life is what it is. Anyway, welcome to Truthful Chats. This is where we do the ongoing practice of getting generational wellness. If you don't know what that means, you have no idea what those terms or those words together mean, look at the description box or somewhere, wherever this video is. This is our own original term. So if you hear it out in the street somewhere else, let us know so we can deal with it. Anyway, every month here at Truthful Chat, we have a theme. So the month is still October. October is a very weird month. I don't know. My energy feels all over.
It's the Halloween.
Anyway, I know she's very, very safe. She don't be doing the Halloweens. I don't mind it so much. I also don't put too much stock in it, but I don't mind it. Halloween and Thanksgiving are not real holidays to me. And Christmas is a matter of your faith interpretation. Christmas feels real to me, but these other two are just like, nah, just an excuse for me to eat.
I like Thanksgiving
and hang out with the homies or whatever. But I mean, the origins of Thanksgiving are they're not real. I appreciate.
Yeah, they're suspect, but they're real.
I appreciate the gratitude aspect of it. I'm saying the fairy tale version of Thanksgiving is illegitimate, therefore it is an illegitimate holiday. However, we have all decided to practice gratitude instead. It's like
with that and for that, I say thank you.
And to that, I say thank you. It's just like this holiday we just celebrated that has to do with some man who is a terrible human being, a rapist, and a pillager. And then we had to put credit where credit is due. It's Indigenous Peoples Day because we celebrating that, but not you. Anyway,
that's our reality.
That's our reality. Okay. Yeah. Anyway, it's October. Let me get back to the task at hand. And our theme is evolve. And today's episode, if you're watching it, you clicked on it, you were intrigued, is evolve your reality. So we got to get a couple layers deep. Before we even start this, okay, we got to establish some things and then we're going to get a little deeper and then we got to go because we have things to do. But we're still here to take time to do this. So here we go. Continue.
All right. So how do you define reality, right? Well,
what is a reality?
What is? And it's actually kind of course, as in everything, a couple of different types, a couple of different layers. So if you're talking about an objective reality, then you're looking at the truth of how things really are, how they exist. This is we have a mic here. You're watching us on your computer, phone, or whatever. We're sitting in front of our computer. Those are objective realities. Those
like
are things
more
that
tangible
are tangible and true. But there's also subjective reality, which refers to the interpretation of what you see. And like Jessica was saying, how you perceive it. Was the dress white and gold? Was the dress black and blue? It depends on where you were sitting, the light behind you.
There was a lot of like weird.
There were a lot of variable
things. So please go watch the episode. It was fascinating for us.
Okay, so that subjective reality that we're talking about it can vary from person to person, depending on
that's where we get granular.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Your perception, how you grew up, what your belief systems are, which is why we talk about generational wellness, because a lot of the things that you are in the place where you believe them right now, you didn't always believe them. Something happened that slid you into that perception or slid you into that reality. Yes, like sliding in the DMs. But some may perceive reality as the physical world and its tangible products. And then some people, when they say reality, they're referring to those intangible perception things, how you feel, how you see things.
So which one is right and which one is wrong? I'm totally kidding. Yeah. Because there is no right or wrong. It's just there are objective realities and then there are subjective realities. So, which makes it hard. Which people argue there's subjective and objective truth, which we will also talk about. But, this is why it's hard when you try to give like blanket things. Statements, and then people come in with, well, what about this? Or that's not my experience, right? What they're talking about is like,
they're subjective.
We should all agree that the sky is blue. I know some of y'all are back and forth about whether the world is flat or round, so I'm not going to get into that. But I think we all objectively can concur that the sky is blue. However, a subjective reality of that would be if a person's colorblind, who knows what kind of color, you know what I'm saying? It's gray to them. So
and some days it is.
And we can all agree, you know what I'm saying? We like, no, it's blue. But for them, that's a subjective situation that they're under. Anyway, if we're going to do the work of, I was just giving that as a like, oh, I understand that ideology. So if we're going to do the work of evolving our reality, first thing we have to do is understand our reality. Where are we currently? What are the things that we could like, you know what I'm saying, pick up? And is the thing, shout out to Samsung, we will sponsor your product as well, versus something that's sort of like intangible, right? That you can't touch. So it's like one of these things versus one of these things. Which one is true? Both of them are true in my reality, but it's just a matter of making those things. How do you grasp them, especially intangible things?
Interestingly enough, what we are going to put on the Samsung was intangible initially. It was just,
oh yeah, it's all the podcast stuff. So
it's all the podcast
it's
stuff.
all the stuff that came
So
from
it were they were ideas, they were thoughts in our mind. There were things we read, we researched, we
that creates that episodes.
Yeah, that created the episodes that are now going to go onto the tangible part.
So we took something that was subjective or immaterial, therefore.
Yeah.
And they made it objective.
Made
something you can actually watch or listen
to.
Okay. So anyway, it is important that when you are assessing or understanding your reality, we talk about it all the time, you have to be self-aware, right? It's the most like vital, important thing because, and that's why we keep stressing that as an important tool in anything that helps you lead to understanding yourself more. Because of being conscious of your thoughts, your emotions, your behaviors, having a deep understanding of your values, your beliefs, your motivations, the things that sort of make you who you are. Because those are immaterial things too, but there's also a lot of tangible things that
come out of it.
Cement those things.
Yeah.
And those things may or may not be true or best for you, I guess, based on where you are, right? And said reality at the time. So, like we say, like Pam said all the time, what was working for her reality at 20 isn't the same reality that's working right now. Some of the things still apply, but as life changes and shifts, as she changes and shifts, things are different. You can say the same. I was in my 20s not that long ago, but there's a lot of things in my 20s that don't apply. Even the things in my 20s didn't really apply to my reality because I've always been so I'd be like, this is stupid. Like, I'm just going through this, but I don't really subscribe to it. You know what I'm saying? I'm always questioning the nature of my reality. Anyway, so if your reality is made up of your thoughts, your feelings, and experiences, and the way you see things is considered to be your truth. I think that's a very important thing. Your thoughts, emotions, behaviors, childhood experiences, that's your truth. And that doesn't mean that your truth is everybody else's truth. And that's very, very hard, I think, in our modern, like, we just gotten away from it. Like, we just feel like we can negate any sort of objective truth with some sort of subjective truth. It's like the easiest, it's the go-to thing that people go to.
It's not real for me. Might be real for you.
It's why everything in the news is being called to question now. Like, can we really believe that? I'm like, yeah, if they have video camera, they manipulated that. I'm like, okay, listen, if you want to go down the rabbit hole of conspiracy theories, you go right ahead, because that's your truth. Day. And I'm not trying to knock you off of your truth. But if we don't have anything that's objective or solid to stand on, then we all just kind of
out here
floating around in whatever you think is truth. And that's part of our problem. So anyway, recognizing this sort of responsibility gives you an ability to choose how you want to see the world. It's your essence. It's your reality. And there's nothing wrong with having your reality, but you also have to explore the fact that there is a larger reality, okay, as well. And I think a lot of times we feel powerless to change things in the larger reality.
So
which we complain about.
Yeah.
But sometimes we do or we don't adjust our own realities. Like, that's really the only thing we have power and control over. But sometimes we do be adjusting things, or we don't be adjusting things based on how we probably feel.
Which ultimately determines how you live your life.
Of our individual world or the world at large, or, sometimes the world at large overwhelms your individual world. I get it. It's a lot of things. So as you're evolving as a person, you should really take the time, as I feel like I currently am, to assess the healthiness.
You're taking the time?
Yeah, the healthiness of my reality and how it's affecting my overall well-being and my wellness period. It's not been a good few weeks, but I had therapy today, so I feel okay, I guess. But
y'all lucky we come on Thursday after we have therapy.
But it's shout out to Tremaine Walker. We will always support you. We're gonna put your Cash App up so people can give love offerings. He'll be on here at some point. We haven't figured it out yet, but you have to be like, y'all talk about him all the time, but like, yeah,
we'll come on here and let him talk about us.
That would be fun. Anyway, yeah. So again, we are just trying to. It's important to question or assess, I shouldn't say always question, assess your reality, because you're probably making executive life decisions or beliefs or something based on that, choices based on that. And that is, whether you are acknowledging it or not, having an ability or impact, I should say, on your well-being and your wellness, period. And that stuff always shows up. I feel like we always dedicate a part of the episode to the emotional stuffers, or the people that's so hard they can't ever deal with nothing and they don't feel like nothing's wrong with them. But if you ask some other people in your life or in your circle or whatever, they might say otherwise.
Give you a different opinion.
They might say otherwise. So,
and hopefully you'll be ready to.
The evolution is important, people.
Yeah, and you do have to take into consideration those external sources, like Jessica was talking about. Things like societal norms, cultural beliefs, what's trending now, what's important in the culture, media influence. All of that contributes to your perception of reality. Like right now, it's easy to have a lot of doom and gloom in your reality because that's what you're being fed all day through the media. If it's not, the war, it's Donald Trump,
one of the
congressmen, it's the this, it's the that, it's the something about
somebody's getting
rocks
divorced.
They found on something fell down out of the sky from NASA, and they finding some whole bunch of stuff about
these white people won't go to space. I keep telling y'all.
The rocks, our composition, or something.
That's why they don't care about global boiling. They're like, we finna be out of here, okay?
Anyway. Your personal experiences, your relationships also play a crucial role in shaping your perspective about life. We were watching Kerry Washington's podcast the other day, The Street You Grew Up
Shout
On.
Out to the street you
and
grew
I was
up
like, that is a really good idea, because the street you grew up on does affect your perception of life and your reality and how you grew up and what you did. And, I remember on our street was a really, really busy street. So first of all, we never played in the front yard. You always had to play in the backyard. And then we always played with like the same, we had a lot of cousins. So we basically played with our cousins. We didn't play with other people that much. And then when we did, it was always problematic. So I would venture to say that taught me that
you can't trust nobody outside.
To keep a very close-knit circle and not have a lot of people coming in and out of your circle. And I didn't think about that till I was watching that The Street You Grew Up On, and then I was thinking about like, man, that really is something that affects you.
And I just thought I watched maybe like another or half an episode of that, but Carrie's book is out. So if you don't know what that book is about, I haven't started listening to it yet, but I plan to. I'm still in the middle of Viola's biography, but it's gonna be intense. But anyway, what I thought was cool about Carrie's podcast, because this was about the great Kelly Rowland, and I will always address her as such. But Carrie was saying that it was important that she do an episode with somebody like Kelly, because she was like, it's important for people to see that somebody like you comes from somewhere. Like, I grew up in the era where like we saw people be made. Like I remember when Beyonce wasn't Beyonce. You know what I'm saying? Like she was Beyonce in this girl group and they was all trying to figure it out and like whatever. There's like a grind.
She was Beyonce.
If you grew up after 2003, she just appeared. Like she's always been in the stratosphere. And even, Kelly has done incredible. She's freaking Kelly Rowland, like I'm saying all the time. But everybody has an origin story, which I think is important to highlight, and I thought was super cool. And a lot of those things that Kelly was sharing shaped her reality, right? It was things that she takes us to her mothering and her parenting and
her sisterhood.
Her sisterhood, which is what the episode was about. So it was just cool. Everybody's reality is influenced from somewhere. So check out that podcast because it's cool.
So part of defining your reality is looking at those sources, looking at those things that occurred, looking at the beliefs that you developed around them. Like that was just a big aha moment for me right there, talking about how because we were so insulated and there were 6 or 7 of us, we really didn't feel like we needed no new friends, as Drake would say. So we were just all together, and that was more than enough for us. So it's hard, even in my family now, we don't have a whole lot of outside. You know how some people have 50 friends and this, that, and the other, whatever it was. I remember when me and my husband got married, he had so many people that he wanted to be groomsmen with him. He had like 15 people that he wanted to stand up with him at the wedding. Like, I have 4. I was like, I don't have any more friends. I can't, I don't have a
He also
whole.
comes from a big family. So.
Yeah. But none of the people in the wedding were in his family.
Well, that means he.
Oh, you mean his dynamic?
His dynamic is to always be collecting a lot of people.
Yeah.
Yours dynamic was
very small. So anyway, look at those things because they're impacting your reality. You want to have a healthy reality. You want to have one that promotes generational wellness, for example. So in that instance, for me, I have to be cognizant of the fact that worked for me, but it might not work for her. You know what I mean? She might need to have a lot of friends, but I think it probably has been passed down a little bit. Come and go. But anyway, when you're looking at your family and you're looking at your dynamic and you're wondering, are we healthy? Are we well? How do we react with other people? Does our family let other people in? Do we keep other people out? All of those things are based on what your reality was. And if you need to look at it and see if there needs to be some adjustments made, because you want to be authentic. You want to have healthy relationships. You want them to align with your personal values. You want to have positive emotions because that creates an atmosphere of wellness. On the other hand, if there's a lot of distrust, a lot of dysfunction, a lot of negative responses and conversations and conditions whenever people all get together, then you're going to have dissatisfaction in your family. You're going to have dissatisfaction with the way the family functions, how the children relate, the cousins hang out, how the,
House of the Dragon.
Anything. We went to a funeral yesterday. It was the most peaceful funeral I've ever been to. I think the most peaceful. And I was like, this is a reflection of the reality of this family, that there was no falling out. There was not that falling out is necessarily a bad thing.
Everyone grieves differently.
Everyone grieves differently. But you can see there was such a peace and a legacy of wellness in that family that it was just a very beautiful, peaceful celebration. So, take a look at your stuff, take a look at your family, take a look at how y'all be relating, whether it's good, whether it's not. And if you need to take some time to figure out how to change it, change is a good thing. Go back to all our January episodes and you can hear about change.
And if you're assessing those negative emotions, just don't wallow there. I've had to deal with some things mentally just old patterns coming back. So I just acknowledge them. I've been a little bit in the funk for a couple of days, but I talked about it today. I feel okay. But still, just saying don't feel guilty about it. It already is a sucky feeling, so don't feel bad and then feel guilt about feeling bad on top of it.
Feeling. Yeah,
it's just extra annoying. Anyway, so if you discover that you need to start doing some things different or you need to change the nature of your reality, it involves change, of course, and the process pretty much has the same basic elements, and it's all things we've already talked about, but we like to be repetitive. I was going to say redundant, but that's all.
No, repetitive.
Because low-key, the steps just really don't be changing that much. Anyway, go back to the January episodes for sure. One, take a good look at your current situation to tell yourself the truth about where you are, which we'll talk about
in a minute.
Very quickly. Question your existing beliefs. Again, question the nature of your reality. Just because something is a belief that you have right now, don't mean you always need to keep it, need to continue that. Honestly, challenge your limiting narratives. So that's one of the things I was talking about today. There are several core narratives that always come up for me based on certain situations that I face. It triggers a whole set of self-doubt and self-talk and all this kind of stuff. So because I have self-awareness, I can recognize the pattern. Still doesn't mean I don't fall into it or that it doesn't not feel good. But I can recognize it, and then either I can start challenging my limiting beliefs, or usually when I go to session, my therapist be like, now you deal with this, and this, or your coping mechanism of this, and this. And you got to try to figure out how to incorporate those things so you're not feeling as much of this. So it's an ongoing process. Okay. I've been at this for some time and I still need help. And then 4, be open to embrace new possibilities. Just because, again, It is a subjective reality that I feel is a truth. Doesn't 100% make it the truth. That's 9 times out of 10 what my therapist does is to be like, okay, you're feeling this. I get it 100%, but have you thought about it like this? Or you're feeling that, but that feeling isn't always truth, which that's a whole nother topic because I was like, feelings are good, but as I've said before, where I heard somewhere or some, I've said this on the podcast, but I remember where I heard it. Feelings are indicators, not dictators, right? But they really feel like dictators at that particular moment, but they're usually just an indication of something you're trying to figure out or work through or whatever. So I think sometimes if you didn't have the emotion, maybe you wouldn't explore the thing. So just try to think of it as a tool rather than the sentence, like the full, like drawn out thing.
It's interesting that you say that because we're the kind of a little bit opposite on that. So what he works with me about is I can be a stuffer. So the feelings that I have that are indications of something, I don't look at them. I'd rather just like keep it pushing.
That probably has a lot to do with your own traumatic history.
But yeah, not look at it. So I just keep going. So what he'll do for me is like, okay, go back to that feeling. What do you think that feeling is an indication of?
Yeah, sometimes she act like she don't have
you
feelings.
may not have thought about, but it's really it's really a big part of what you're feeling right now and what you need to shift, what you need to change. Because half the time I don't be wanting to look at it. I'm gonna tell you the truth.
Yeah, she don't be wanting to feel her feels. Whereas for me, if I don't feel my feels, they're gonna come out somewhere, or I'm an imploder, right? So if I stuff, then eventually I explode. Then everybody feels some type of way about me exploding. But I was like, yo, I was trying to let you know when I was feeling the indicators, but now they done turned into dictators, not just for you, but for not just for me, but for everyone around me.
And now you having a military march.
And now everybody, we having a military parade. Everybody can get some of this military smoke. So anyway, the dictator parade. Anyway, so we talked about the first point, which is telling yourself the truth about where you are. And so this is a good segue for the reality versus truth part. They're kind of closely intertwined, right? You can see how they sort of overlap, but they're also not interchangeable concepts. So reality, as this definition would state, is an existent fact, whereas the truth is an established fact. So an existent fact is like, it's a thing that's existing. It's there. These feelings that you feel, you know, you might really, really be grieving, which is an existing thing. The truth is, the established fact is, that person that you love has transitioned, right? Depending on how you feel about transitioning, that's the thing. But grief,
or y'all broke up,
or whatever. Grief can be your reality, or the fact of the relationship with said person living or transition has changed. Okay, the fact is that it's changed completely, and for whatever reason, it will never go back to what it was previously, right? So the reality is how you feel about it, but the established fact is that the whole thing is completely different now, and it'll probably never go back. So reality sort of is a subjective interpretation of how you are perceiving the world at that time, but it's probably based on some sort of established fact. And that reality is influenced, of course, by said established fact factored into your individual experiences, your beliefs. Have you ever experienced something like this before? How have you reacted to it or coped with it in the past, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So reality is, you know, an existing fact coupled with all of those things, life experiences, beliefs, your personal perceptions of things. And then, you know, truth is just truth. This is an established fact.
It's so funny. I'm going to date myself really, really, because I know half y'all had never heard of this show, but it was one of the original cop shows. And, you know, they would be going to ask the witnesses about, you know, what happened. And the witnesses would always be coming back with their subjective reality about what happened. And the guy on the show, I can't remember his name, Dragnet, he would say, just the facts, ma'am. That's all I want is just the facts. It was like, I don't want your interpretation of the facts. I don't want how you feel about the facts. I don't want this. I just want the facts. So that truth refers to those facts, like we're talking about, the objective facts. Some people are living in their own reality. They don't want to face the facts.
Reality.
Some things are physical reality. Some things are immaterial realities. Shall we talk about Kirk?
Yes, quite quickly. If you have not seen Father's Day, which is Kirk Franklin's documentary on YouTube, it is completely free 99. Highly recommend. You will need liquor or something to make it through said watch. Also support the Father's Day album, okay? That's in conjunction with this documentary. We need to get,
and it's not long. It's about 35, 40 minutes.
We need to get Kirk streams up. Go support the reunion tour. It's the Clark sisters and Ty Tribbett, and it's like Tamala Man. It's like a gospel family reunion if you grew up in that Kirk Franklin era, because he's completely changed the face of music and kept me near the cross on numerous occasions. Anyway, said documentary is about Kirk. If you don't know, Kirk Franklin is like one of the most influential, I'd say, important gospel artists in the last 20 years. Like, so he's taken the truth of the gospel, if that's what you believe, and usually blended it with other types of genres. Gospel, has a very traditional sound. Kirk really turned all that on his head because he had hip hop and R&B influences and international influences. Like, he's like a trendsetter. He's like a pioneer in the space. And he's adopted. He's never shied away from his story of his mother gave him up very early. He was raised by this old woman named Gertrude, who legally adopted him when he was 4. She was 64. He grew up very isolated, very alone. He's talked about all this on the record. Father's Day is the story of him actually finding his biological father. And I won't ruin it for you. And pretty much, they was at a funeral. Somebody had said something that said, hey, I used to date Kirk's mom's name is Deborah. Thank you. I was going to say Daisy. That's not it. Deborah. And Deborah used to date this guy. So they were at this funeral. Kirk wasn't there. This was like somebody in his choir. It was her dad's church. And one of his distant relatives had actually passed. So this was a funeral where like his mom was there. He hasn't spoken to his
mom's sister.
It was one of the sisters. So he hasn't spoken, but it's distant to Kirk. So his auntie really. But Kirk hasn't spoken to his mom in 20 years. Anyway, at that funeral, this guy is there and he says, oh, I used to date Deborah. And people say, oh, for real? We didn't know that. And they could kind of tell the resemblance between him and Kirk. So then all this gossip starts, because that's where gossip lives, is at the church. And the man gives him this swab of DNA, and it was like, hey, I don't know what this rumor is that's going around, but take my DNA. If you want to, send it to the lab, you can. If not, whatever. And of course, Kirk's mom's like, well, call me if you want to know about the rumor, because I'll never lie to you. Okay. These are her exact words. Come to find out, they do the test. It's 99.9999. 1% not accounted for error, right? So like, this is his dad. And then when you see him in the documentary, you're like, obviously, this is clearly Kirk's dad. The kicker
this now to me becomes an objective truth.
Right.
It's
objective. It's fact. We have the science and the paperwork
fact of the DNA test.
You can't really refute that.
0.1%
for error.
Error, but 99.99%. To me, that's an objective fact.
But
let's just say,
yeah, I was like, but Kirk's mom's having none of it. Like,
her reality.
Like, I don't know how it's 99.9995. I said 5, ma'am. It said 9. Like, she's vehemently, adamantly denying that this
her
is
subjective reality.
Her subjective reality is
totally
overriding
the objective reality of what these tests say. And that's all we're gonna say about that. Watch it.
Talk about it.
Come back to us.
We'll probably come back and talk about this even more. Oh no, hold on. Keep talking. We'll probably come back and talk about this more because it's very, very, very important. Oh Lord.
Oh, the computer's trying to not have a cord.
There we go.
We're back.
So anyway, that is subjective reality versus objective reality. We will definitely come back and talk about that more because it is it's a trip, and y'all just pray for the Franklins, period. It's actually a Cinderella story if you think about it when it comes to Kirk's dad, because he's an amazing
He seems to be an amazing
He seems to be amazing. He seems to be emotionally mature. He's taking responsibility. He seems very intelligent. And this is not disparaging Kirk's mother or his auntie Sandra. If you've seen the documentary, you know what that means. Because Kirk was on Sway in the Morning talking about these are Black queens. So we're going to continue to uplift them, even though we don't understand them. Anyway, saying all
that's our reality.
Right, that's our reality. And watching Kirk navigate what he felt was an objective fact, because he thought somebody else was his dad. His mom told him somebody else was his dad. So he ended up resenting this man, buried this man that he thought was his dad. So it's a whole thing of what he thought was his objective reality is now subjective reality, and his subjective reality is crashing with the new objective reality, and his mama's subjective reality is not forcing her to take on objective reality.
Of the day,
but Kirk is setting boundaries though, because he was like,
that's what I was going to say.
Your subjective reality is not going to override the objective reality and make me conform to your subjective reality.
Yeah.
That's what I was going to say. Enough time with
he is
not having my dad.
Really showing what it means to create a generational wellness environment, because with this information that could be all over the place and could make everybody go crazy and whatever, he is establishing those boundaries like this. That he reached out to his son to talk about it, to carry on, to help him heal. So if you watch,
it's creating generational wellness.
It's creating generational wellness. It's a perfect example of it, and how even though bad things happen in the past, if you open up and get to the truth of it, and you're willing to look at the truth of it, you can make adjustments and create a more positive environment and an ecosystem for your whole family.
And we're literally praying for them. I was like, the fact that Kirk is on tour right now and could still figure out doing this record, and he's like, I needed it, and it's just a lot. It's a lot to process, and all the people who have also come with their stories of being adopted and not knowing their biological parent, or they got lied to about who their biological parent was and they're dead now, or it's just all kind of things. So anyway, keeping them lifted, because it's a lot to process a new reality, period.
A new reality.
But publicly navigating a new reality whilst
about your whole family, your whole life, your whole dynamic,
whilst people are counting on
your reality is basically evolving in front of
everyone.
And everyone. Yeah.
And Kirk's philosophy is to win wounded. He was like, if this is a story you can relate to, or something that's happened, you cannot wait on apologies. You cannot wait on people to change. You have to decide that you're going to win, even though things aren't the way that you want them to be.
Control the narrative about your reality.
You're only responsible for the creation of your own reality. You can't really worry about nobody else. So highly recommend. Anyway, understanding and shaping your reality is a profound endeavor, as we can tell, that creates an ecosystem where generational wellness can exist, which is what we were talking about. So we hope the Franklins have a whole era of wellness after so much trauma for so long, that has trickled down generationally. So, him and Tammy been trying to hold it down, but now, this is a whole nother situation. Because it creates an environment where personal growth can happen, which can be celebrated and lead to fulfillment and healing, and ultimately a greater sense of authenticity. Kirk has this great line that he says in a documentary about, I know who I am broken, but I have no idea who I am well. And so I think that's sort of the scary part about creating generational wellness for yourself and creating generational wellness for other people. It's comfortable to sit in trauma and
you have figured out how to live broken, and it's hard sometimes to figure out how to live well.
Right. And all
in a space of wellness.
All that entails to rip all those layers and things off. So, and we hope that by delving into the meaning of reality today versus truth, practicing self-awareness, assessing constantly the healthiness of your reality. If you're in a place or space where it's sinking or things are breaking apart, it's hard, but let it happen, because there's regeneration on the other side.
You need some help, get some help.
Yep. And, the reality of your family could be shifting, as we talked about. That's a whole nother thing. So it's just like the core of your life could be shaking. But there's good stuff on the other side.
And listen, the holidays are coming.
So yes.
Y'all know what it's about to be. If all this stuff has been festering and y'all haven't looked at it and nobody wants to talk about it, everybody's feelings been stuck, somebody gonna have 3 glasses of Uncle Nearest and something gonna happen.
Hennessy, something.
So just try and deal with it before you get to Thanksgiving dinner.
And if it's just something you can do for you, which is because everybody might not be ready to change, and we're not advocating you forcing that on people. But for you, if you can go into that space and gain the clarity that you need and the ability
to not react,
to make, I don't know what's happening to the internet, and the ability to make more conscious choices that will hopefully evolve the legacy of your generation, of your generational wellness. Forgive us, I don't know, the internet is being choppy, but we're gonna finish. Just remember, you have the power always to redefine your reality, create a life that aligns with your true authentic self, and embrace the journey of self-discovery, transformation, and actively engage your reality to unlock your full potential. Okay. Anyway, this episode has come to an end, but we hope that you will join us next week. And normally I put up a banner here, but I really have no idea what my computer is doing. So if you want to get tapped in for another episode of Evolve in this Truthful
month
Chat
of October
month, make sure I literally cannot put the
banner up,
but subscribe. Create Generational Wellness on all of the platforms. And yeah, man, I think that's it.
I think the computer is saying that's it.
And I gotta get to the next thing. So,
all right, love y'all. We'll see you next Thursday.
We'll see you next week.